Got it. And wait. I know you're excited, Sherry.
I'm excited.
Preparing live stream. Well, Facebook is streaming live, at least.
Yes, you are.
Yes,
Okay,
it
I'm gonna start the recording.
Okay.
Okay, we're live.
Great.
Perfect. What's up, Coaches Nation? That is what we are calling the folks that are watching this amazing podcast. We're so excited to see you again. I'm Dr. Sherry Flewellen with our co-host Faisal Ansan.
Faisal Insan. Sorry, I have to turn off the live stream in the background.
Highly anticlimactic beginning.
Yes. So we are here today with a super special guest, Daniel Fernandes, and we are going to deep dive into his coach's journey. But before we do that, we are going to talk about some wins. Now, Faisal, why do we talk about wins? Where is this coming from? I kind of want you to unpack that for a sec.
I feel like, I mean, especially as coaches or entrepreneurs, the journey that we're on, it's filled with enough challenges. and I don't think we take enough time to celebrate those small wins or big wins, whatever it is, to anchor us into the journey that, hey, we are moving forward, we are growing, we are connecting, as coaches, as entrepreneurs, as people who are trying to create an impact in the world. So I feel like the wins matter, and actually it doesn't just matter in our feeling, but in the way that we communicate ourselves. Because if we see that and feel that within ourselves, guess what? We celebrate others too.
Absolutely.
So that's why I think it's really cool.
So most of the time when we all get together, we talk about our wins. We spend the first few minutes, what is going awesome, or are we excited about, or lessons that we're learning, growth, and it doesn't matter what part of your life that happens in. So Faisal, what is a win that you've been experiencing?
Well, I actually have quite a few wins, but I'll go with the one big win. And I've recently transitioned out of a big contract that I've had. And in the past 3 weeks, I've actually made triple as much as I was making in that contract. And I'm serving better clients at this time. So that's a huge win for me.
Yay, that's awesome. That's so exciting. Daniel, we don't even know who you are yet. But what are some wins or a win that you've had?
In the coaching world, I had a win where you know how you need to build new habits to like reach out to your audience and stuff. And with me and my business partner Rob, we've been reaching out very consistently to our list, sending really great emails out. And then one day our email broke, and we stopped sending email for that period of time. And we tried to fix it, and it broke again. And then we finally got back. We did fix it, but then we didn't continue sending emails because the habit got broken. And so we just got back on and said, hey, we own that. We didn't send emails because we broke our email, and then we didn't continue our habit. So just kind of owning up to like, hey, we're all human. We make mistakes, even, as leaders of a community. And the win is like we started again and we sent a new email. And now we're back on hopefully the habit track of sending those messages out.
That's awesome. Habits are so critical. So one of my wins is not necessarily coaching related, but my husband and I have had some really powerful conversations over this past week about where we're headed as a family and our finances. And so, the more clarity and alignment we have in our lives, whether it's business or family, it just lets everything, the momentum build. So I'm super excited about that.
Awesome. I love that.
Yes.
I love that we started with wins. That's such a coaching thing to do.
This is a coach's journey, right?
Yeah, I love it.
So before we jump in and really dive deep with Daniel, we're going to let you guys know about the sponsor for this podcast. So the Coaching Mastery Community is our podcast is our sponsor right now for the coach's journey. The CMC, as we call it, it's a virtual community designed by coaches and for coaches of all kinds. And it's just an opportunity for us to meet virtually multiple times a week to learn business mastery skills, information, education, implementation, as well as coaching mastery. Because if we get better as coaches, we also need to get better with our business. So it all kind of fits together. Faisal, what is one of the things that you love the most about CMC?
Well, what I love the most is what we're doing here, and when I'm part of the CMC, where I'm having these kind of conversations, but probably much more in depth as we're talking about specifics of how we improve in specific areas of coaching skills and how we keep expanding that among different coaches coming from different modalities, but also how do we keep getting better at moving our business forward, whether it be from a sales perspective, marketing perspective, or from business strategy perspective. And we're consistently bringing in trainers, and we're having these kind of conversations within it, and we're making connections and sharing resources and referrals and so many things. And just that community has helped me in more ways than I can think of.
That is amazing. Totally agree. And in fact, all three of us right now, we are in the coaching mastery community, which is part of where we have been able to build our business and build our abilities to be the best coach that we can possibly be. So if you have questions, want to learn more about it, go to coachingmastery.com.
Coachingmasterycommunity.com.
Ah, I forgot. Yes, coachingmasterycommunity.com. Thank you, Daniel, for that correction.
Did I share something I love about the community too?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I love the relationships, and I love how I've gotten to know so many coaches of different styles than me, and I've learned things from them. I've taught things to them, and just like bringing people together to build connections in a professional space where there's no workplace. It's like really powerful to have those other coaches in our community that we can connect with. I've really loved getting to know a whole bunch of coaches, so it's been really good, especially during the pandemic, but also just because, as coaches, most of us are virtual. We don't co-locate, right? So it's a lonely journey otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Daniel, let's pivot to really diving in to who you are, what you do.
I like that. What did you do there?
Who you are, what you do.
I was trying to pivot.
Yeah, exactly. Bring a little sass. So I know you have an interesting journey that led you into coaching, and I know it's a journey that some people can really connect well with. That kind of makes sense. And I think what's fascinating is, as coaches, we all kind of came to this field for different reasons through a different path. Unpack kind of how you ended up with the label coach. What did that look like for you?
For most of my career, I didn't actually know what a coach was. Aside from, the sports coach, but I guess I'll go back to, as an engineer, like I graduated from college with an engineering degree in Canada, and I got a job in the US, and I was doing all kinds of cool engineering stuff. And then one day, as luck would have it, I got promoted into management. This is at General Motors. And I had no idea what that meant. I thought I knew what it meant, but I really had no idea because I was a really good engineer. And I did not have the leadership skills and the management skills to be able to be in charge of a team, in charge of a large manufacturing operation. And so it was a struggle for me for a couple of years. I was working really hard, but not really making progress. And one day, one of the executives that I work with in the manufacturing plant called me into his office and closed the door really loudly. And I was like, oh, something's up. And he sat me down and he said, Daniel, you are failing. He said, you are failing. And I'm like, wait, I was here late last night and I was working on this thing that I was supposed to be working on. And he's like, no, you're not understanding me. He had to repeat himself several times for me to just stop and listen. So I'm like, okay, I didn't understand. And so he said, you're failing your team and you're failing us in the plant. And you need help as a leader. And I know your heart's in the right place, but you don't know what to do and you need some help. So I'm going to mentor you. And I was like, because I wasn't sure I liked him yet. Because I thought he was really, really, blunt and abrasive and direct. And I was trying to be super polite. It was like, I didn't understand what he was doing. Because the reason he was direct is he's trying to help people make a difference, right? He was trying to challenge people. This is one of the things we do as coaches. We have to challenge people. And he was challenging me to step up. And I didn't get that at first, but when I left that meeting, I said, okay, you meant to me, great, thank you. And then I left, I was like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? I actually thought he was going to fire me. So I was like, help me get fired or something. So, because of the seriousness of the conversation. But I left that meeting, and the thing I realized in that moment was like, in 2 years at this company, nobody has really demonstrated that they care about my growth and development and my success in this way. Nobody has sat me down and challenged me and helped me understand what to do and be willing to invest in me in that way. Not even my direct manager, right? And so I just, in that moment, I learned so much about what a difference you can make to other people in your workplace. Because I never connected that. And then I really wanted to like make him proud. And I started changing what I was doing. I started like taking his advice and listening to him. And he started guiding me how to communicate with my manager, how to think about how I run my team, how I interact with people, and how to come more prepared to things, and how to follow up better, and all kinds of things, like just leadership skills. And that journey was about 6 years long while I was at GM. And over time, I really transformed into, I would say, a leader that could really make a difference. And then when the time came, the last couple of years for our plant, it was at end of life. And so it got demolished and rebuilt. And we had a whole new launch team come in and try to put systems in. And my team, my operations team, had to work with them. And I knew how to lead in that very challenging environment. And I really made a difference. I really, really made a difference. Like what I was able to accomplish for my team, I'm really proud of. What I was able to accomplish for my plant, I was really proud of. Even for the whole company at large, I was leading some initiatives that were global in nature at that point. And because of that one conversation, it totally shifted the direction of my growth personally and professionally. Because as a result of that, not only did I become a better leader and start learning about leadership and start like doing the leadership development journey track, which is like researching leadership and finding out about leadership, I started thinking about business. And I started thinking about how I can grow my leadership and my business skills, because I've always, in the back of my head, wanted to have business on the side or be full-time in business. And I knew it was a really powerful tool. And leadership was the other tool that I learned in this journey. And so I actually applied to business school, got in. I was going to business school part-time while I worked at GM. And I figured out around this time that the thing that he did to me was coaching. And so I was like, oh, that's what coaching can be. And it's like, I didn't know what coaching was. I thought it was just like, you sit people down and you tell them like they suck, and then you help them get better, which is maybe one aspect of what you can do as a coach. But there's lots of ways to coach. And I learned this over time as I got interested in coaching, and I got certified as a high performance coach, my first certification, and went to business school. And I started like thinking about business and leadership and coaching. And I started like coaching people at work. And over time, I became a much better leader, a much better coach, and I learned a lot about business until I decided it was time to leave GM at the top. I was literally at the top of my game. I was about to get a big promotion. They had interviewed me, and they're like, yeah, we're going to give you this new job over a much larger team and all that. And I was like, okay, great. By the way, I'm leaving GM now. So I felt kind of bad, but the truth is I was pursuing what I wanted to pursue, which is being an entrepreneur. And so like from a career point of view, that's true. On the personal side, I also kind of did it to be with a woman who was living in Chicago at the time. So I moved from Michigan to Chicago. And so I quit my company and lost my salary and all that, and the company car and everything. And then I went to Chicago, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to be a coach full time. And I was totally not ready to be a coach full time. That first year in Chicago was so hard. Being a coach without a community, without colleagues, was a very different environment. And one of the things I didn't do before I left corporate was think very carefully about the psychological, spiritual, emotional ramifications of that huge paradigm shift, right? My whole social circle, my geographical location, my entire set of colleagues, all the work that I was doing, the team I was leading, all the things that gave me fulfillment, my social life, my friends. I was now like in a completely different state with none of those things. And I didn't think that would be hard. I just was like, okay, it's going to be great. I'm going to be a coach and it's going to be great.
and trying to woo a girl when you're a broke entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's another good point. So like the other part was like I was super self-sufficient before I left. And then when I got to Chicago, I was not at all self-sufficient. I was completely dependent on a woman now who's earning her salary as a consultant, which is great that I had that option. But like I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to be contributing financially. And it was a huge stress on me that I maybe should talk to her about, but at the time I thought this is gonna work. And then I realized like I didn't know how to get clients, and I didn't know how to do the whole coaching business thing. Cause there's like all kinds of things in businesses like bookkeeping and, setting up a bank account and LLC. And then that's just the beginning. And then like enrollment and selling coaching, like nobody walks around being like, you know what I need today is a coach. It's a very different sell than a lot of other things. Not that I had a lot of sales skills. But I was able to get like a few clients that were like super low paying at the beginning. And it was just a really, really brutal experience for me, because at the same time as this was all happening, my relationship was not very good, because she was working as a consultant and I hardly ever saw her for a while. Because like by the time I got my stuff together and got my move done, she got put on private equity consulting. And so she was working like 18-hour days. And like we'd see each other for like 5 minutes at night when she came home so we could brush our teeth together. And then she would pass out, and then she would get up early the next morning, go back. And so it was pretty bad for a while. And so our relationship deteriorated, and I was about to break up with her. And we had a conversation. So we said, we'll wait a couple of weeks until she's off the project so we can talk. And we pulled it out, and we rebuilt the relationship. And I think that was also a turning point for me as a coach at that point, because like I was just getting worse and worse down to the spiral of, I'm just going to call it like depression of some kind, because I wasn't succeeding in business. I had no friends. I didn't know what I was doing. And my relationship was in tatters, and I quit my entire career to move to this thing that's now not working out. Probably the biggest mistake of my life, with a relationship that's not working out, with a business that's not working out. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is stupid. So one of the things I was doing during this time, the thing that was way easier than making a successful coaching business, was running an Olympic triathlon. So I started training. It was so hard to build a coaching business that I thought, why don't I run a triathlon? Because that's something I think I could do. Whereas like subconsciously, I was like struggling with the coaching business. So, and I did not know how to swim. So I had to learn how to
Wow, this is really important what you're sharing, that this is harder than a triathlon.
It's way harder. Like doing a triathlon, it's like pretty obvious, right? You know how far you got to swim, you know how far you got to run, you know how far you got to bike. Like I was already a pretty good runner and biker, so I just had to learn how to swim, but I also never had biked that far. So I basically got in a group, very important point here. I got in a group that helped me train. And I also like had a little plan, right? I had a plan, like, here's how I ramp it up, right? Like this month, I'm going to do this far. This next month, I'm going to go that far. And then I'm going to do like the long training for all 3 on Sundays. So it was like a pretty like mathematical plan, right? Whereas the coaching business, not only did I not have any clue how to do that, it doesn't make this, you can't do the same mathematical thing, but you could have a group, which I didn't have either. And that was the key thing that I was missing for me, was a group of people that could help me along the way, who were also training, who were also learning, who were also growing. And that's one of the huge mistakes that I made as a coach starting out. I tried to do it all on my own because I still had this paradigm, which is like I can do this. It's all about me, which is actually Daniel's number one rule of coaching is it's not about you, it's about them. And so like I have to succeed. I need to build a business. I have to do it all by myself. And then I'll be like, yeah, I succeeded building a business. Like that is such a faulty paradigm. If anybody listening to this is thinking I'm going to do it by myself, there's no such thing as something you do by yourself. Everybody gets support, whether it's your team, whether it's your colleagues, whether it's investors, whether it's clients, whether like you're not alone, especially in a business, because a business is automatically connected to whatever pieces of that business are important for that business, right? You cannot do anything in isolation. Nobody can do anything in isolation that involves business. So I just want to say it was a super hard journey as a coach that first year. So I was pretty much a failure. I can't believe I kept at it. I cannot believe I kept at it.
Why did
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So why did you keep at it?
A couple of things, I think. One is I started having a tiny amount of success. Like I got a couple of clients, like I mentioned, low paying clients. One of my clients signed up for some coaching with me, but then after 6 sessions, so I said like, well, you can pay, like, I don't know, like you can pay half now and half in the middle because that's what he wanted. And then when we got to the middle, he's like, I don't want to continue. I'm like, oh. But I thought like we actually did a lot of good stuff in that coaching. I'm like, oh, maybe I could do some stuff. So some stuff that's valuable to people. So, I got small numbers of clients paying small amounts of money. So I knew like something's right about this. People kept on showing up sometimes, and other times I just couldn't sell it. And so like, I knew I had to figure some stuff out. So I think I continued because I saw potential. And I think the real reason that I continued was like, it was super aligned with who I am. Like my whole life, I've been thinking about how can I help people communicate with each other? How can I help them build relationships? How can I help them learn things they need to learn? How can I encourage them? Like, to me, like my entire life, I've been thinking about, like, if I learn something, like who could that help? How can I help somebody like apply that? Because that's so valuable. Or like, if people are stuck, I really don't want them to be stuck. I have this passion inside me to stop the stuck people from being stuck. And I've always been like that, whether it's with my friends and family or that. So I think there was just a really, really powerful alignment with who I was. And like, if there's a career here, it would be like super awesome. But like, even if there wasn't, like, it was like very aligned for me to like be coaching, because I just love that kind of work. And to be paid for what you love to do would be amazing. So I think there was a couple of glimmers of success and glimmers of the alignment being possible as a career. So I think that's a couple of the reasons I continued. Also, something that happened at the end of the year in Chicago, me and my wife pulled our relationship back out of the toilet, and we decided to travel together for like a year. And so we signed on with a group of people who were traveling in South America, and every month they would switch countries. And so we'd all move together to the next country. And I was able to do a lot of coaching and development. I started doing some workshops like I used to do for the executives at GM, but just like development workshops. And it re-energized me because a new change of scenery. And like neither me nor my wife was in a home base that was the other person's. Like, we were traveling together. And so I was able to build some friendships again faster, instead of just like having some of my wife's friends. And through that process, I got a few clients. I also did a couple of barters that went really well, and did some really great facilitations. I got asked to do a couple of facilitations for some of the folks who were at, like, we were in South America and we were in Chile, and I did a workshop for the people in the program. And because we were at this co-work in Santiago, the startup Chile people who were also in that co-work, who are all entrepreneurs, said, "Oh, could you do that workshop for our people? Because I heard lots of good things." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure." So I did the workshop for them or whatever. And we started making friends, and we started making entrepreneurial friends. And I felt like a little bit more entrepreneurial that first couple months. And then as we moved, I felt more aligned with entrepreneurship. I felt I learned a bunch of stuff, and I felt I had some clients and some experience. And it's like, okay, so maybe I'm having some success. And so this is a really important thing for all coaches. With your clients, you need to help them feel the successes they're having, because I was having successes. I just wasn't feeling them because I didn't have a coach. So have a coach, help your clients feel successes, because what we did at the beginning of this call was like, what are our wins? Every single session, I try to make sure my clients tell me about their wins, even if I already know what they are. Like, it's really good to experience them again, to feel them, because when you feel your wins, you really like seek the idea that I'm progressing in your subconscious. And when you constantly seek your wins and say, I'm progressing every day, like every single day, I write down all the ways I need move the needle. Because if I don't do that, it's inevitable that one day I'm going to start like not feeling it, and I'm going to start falling backwards and start getting depressed about the lack of progress, even though there's a ton of progress. So I write those down every day, and every day I'm looking at all the needle movers that I just wrote every day. And so I make my clients do the same thing, because it's a really, really powerful tool to do, to just recognize your progress. What are your wins? How are you progressing? And as I started seeing that more, it was a lot easier to continue down the path. Still a while before I had more success, but that was kind of the beginning of how I became a coach. I don't know if that answers the question really well, but
yeah, wow, that's an amazing like path that you've been on. The thing that I love, like, there are two parts that I love in there. One, that you made sure you follow your heart, and despite the challenges, and I mean, they're both key to coaching, I think. And the second one is that you always saw the potential, the tiny potential in what you were doing. You could like, yeah, there's a lot of things that are going wrong here, but there's something that's going right. How can I get better at this? And that's really powerful, because in my experience, a lot of the clients, if they could just do those things, I think they can get closer to what they're creating much faster, and just your experience in it is modeling that is really powerful. I know that since then you've gone towards so many other. I mean, you've done multiple certifications. You're one of the more experienced coaches that I know, and you've actually coached me personally too. So I have the firsthand experience, and it's really powerful. In fact, I'll actually share this. You actually gave me the window to a mastery level of coaching when you coached me the first time. So it kind of reaffirmed what I would think what that was, but you actually showed me an experience which I hadn't seen before, which was really powerful for me. And to this day, I remember that. So tell us, what is the mastery journey that you've taken, and why did you choose to go towards multiple modalities and kind of expand your toolkit?
That's a good question. Before I answer that, can I ask you to explain a little bit more what you mean by like, I helped you see the mastery level of coaches? Like, what did you mean by that? And then I'll answer the question for sure.
Do you really have to make me emotional at this point?
Don't bring the string yet, Faisal.
So I will share it. I don't mind sharing it. So this was actually at the certification, and when we went to. It was in Arizona, Phoenix. I don't know if you remember it, but I remember it. And it was one of the last sessions and that I actually went through. After that, we kind of graduated for that year from high performance coaching certification. And one of the last sessions that I did was a discovery call that we were supposed to kind of practice. And I had done versions of it like that, but I wasn't sure that I was doing the right thing. I had no frame of reference. And you were actually much more experienced than I was. So I was actually glad that I was sitting beside you. And I think I remember asking you, what do you want to do? Like, I'm just going with whatever the energy brings, something along those lines. And you were very open to energy. I'm like, well, I think it's going to serve me to see how you coach me. So you did coach me, and you didn't actually follow the exact kind of model or exact framework of coaching. You actually jumped to the key areas to help me within that session. And it actually did help me. It actually reframed how I was thinking about my productivity in relation to productivity in general, but I was kind of beating myself up for not being productive.
I remember this.
Now you got it, but I was actually being very productive, but a huge part of that was my family, and I wasn't giving myself credit for that. And yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that.
And if I can extract kind of what I'm hearing is part of coaching mastery is being able to really discern what is going on with your client and throwing the rule book out the window if you need to, and kind of going with your gut, with your experience, with intuition, with what they're bringing in front of you. Sometimes that's the most valuable thing you could do, and that's about being present.
And it wasn't like, it's like you could tell, like you started out with, hey, here's the framework, I'm going to start with this, and I know what you were following, and all of a sudden you just completely shifted because you saw where I needed help with. You explored a little bit, and you just focused in those couple of areas. And as you went deeper, you helped me connect with what mattered to me and what my perspective on productivity was versus what I was kind of conceptually thinking about that. And I know that stuff, but in my experience, I wasn't seeing it. That was my blind spot in that moment. So that was really powerful. That was a really, really powerful experience, and actually gave me reaffirmed what I was doing already. I just didn't have a lot of confidence in it. So it gave me a lot of confidence to keep going in that direction. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for that too. That was awesome. And I've forgotten your original question, so you're gonna have to repeat it. What I was asking, well, this is what emotions do. What
asking was that, I mean, you've kind of gotten out of that. I mean, there's always challenge on entrepreneurship path, but as you've gone towards more of the mastery level in coaching, you've kind of introduced yourself to, you've been on this learning journey, and you didn't just stick to high performance coaching. You've brought in other modalities, and you were constantly learning and growing from all sorts of perspectives, and you're bringing it into your coaching. First of all, what is your thinking behind bringing all these perspectives, but how has it helped you expand your business and coaching skills along the way?
That's an interesting question. I think when I first started coaching, I had coached just in one modality, like high performance coaching. And that's been many years. And that's a great framework to start coaching with, because it helps you understand a great way to coach. And over time, I think I started diversifying my influences. Just like, with leadership, you can read like one leadership person or follow one leadership person, but that's just one modality of leadership or one style of leadership. Same with coaching, right? There's like many different ways of coaching. There's 1,000 different certifications out there. There's a lot of great ones and a lot of poor ones and a lot of in between. Like, part of it is like figuring out what you gravitate towards and what helps serve you as a coach and as a business person, and figuring out like what's aligned to yourself. So I always have been the kind of person to like do more personal development, and the Googles and the Facebooks figured out like that I'm into coaching. So I would always get ads for coaching and stuff, and then I would follow certain people for a while or whatever, and then I would consider investing in coaching education, not just with the high performance coaching, but with other things. And so I started getting other certifications. A couple of the ones that I've done one with Evan Pagan, which is the virtual coach. I've done one with Christian Michelson, which is the rapid results coaching, and a couple other things that he offers. And then I'm doing optimized coach with Brian Johnson. And then there's just a bunch of other coaching influences that I have that I follow. There's EverCoach on Mind Valley. There's all kinds of stuff, right? And it really depends on the kind of coach that you're going to evolve to become, that you want to become. And like, I'm not going to say it's like 100% directed. Like I'm super intentional. Like, here is exactly the 3 things that I want, and I'm going to pursue those, and then I'm going to build a brand. It's not that intentional. It could be if you want it to be. And I encourage you to be that intentional if you want to be that intentional. But sometimes you don't know what you need. And like coaching world, like, to really be role modeling as a coach, transformation is really important. And so sometimes you don't know exactly what transformation looks like, right? And just like your clients don't know, you're guiding them through transformation. As a coach, you should always be transforming. You should always be growing. And one way that I grow is constantly developing my coaching skills through other toolkits and learning other ways to coach, because in every single other thing that I've picked up, I'm getting some really powerful elements, tools, playbooks, tricks of the trade, ways to help the client better. And something that happens is like, there's toolkits that I get, right? It's like in high performance, I got a whole bunch of tools. In virtual coach, I got a whole bunch of tools. And some of those tools are really, really, really powerful. And some of those tools are tools that maybe I don't use as much. But when I'm with a client, I can now draw on a wider diversity of things to pull into the session, right? So something that in high performance coaching, we talk about is clarity, but we don't necessarily, as high performance coaches, always take the time to really build what the vision is for the client, right? And that, you can do that in high performance coaching, but it's not part of the coaching officially. And I learned to start doing that over time. And then in the virtual coach, there's one of the tools that's called the ultimate scenario. There's other people that use the ultimate scenario type tool. And that tool was really helpful to help build a client vision. So I use that tool quite a bit in my coaching, but I don't only use that stuff. I use the high performance stuff. I can choose from the things I'm certified in or that I've learned and pull them in to help the client the most, right? Because, at first I was always coaching a certain way. And now I've learned to like coach like more intuitively with all the tools at my disposal. And I honestly, I still don't know anything. Like I'm going to continue learning for the rest of my life and learning more and more tools and kits, whether it's a certification or not. Because my motivation is like, man, this client, I had a hard time helping them through this thing. How could I help them faster or better or make the transformation even deeper, right? So like I'm always trying to figure out new ways to help. And this is what I had been doing when I said like my whole life I've been thinking about how can I encourage and help people. I'm also thinking like, how would I help that person? How would I reach that person? How would I help them turn around? So I'm always trying to get more tools because like as a coach, I'm always reaching situations with clients or others that I'm like, man, that's a hard one. How would I help here? And what would I need to be thinking or saying or doing? And so I'm always thinking about in the back of my head in everyday interactions, like, oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
I need to understand that better. And that's my motivation to keep on growing and learning.
So Daniel, quick question for you. I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with a mental health therapist because that's my background, and she was like, "Well, what sort of certification do I need? Should I start in coaching, or how? What should I do? What should be my first step?" What would you tell to the newbie coach that maybe doesn't have a certification yet? Where to start? Because as you pointed out, there's a million options.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say it depends. My favorite answer to all questions is it depends.
You wrong when you say that.
What they call with me, it depends.
my clients are like, oh, like, don't answer that question. I know the answer is it depends. I'm like, that's right. What does it depend on is a really good question for each person to ask, right? It depends for, I would say like a few factors you might want to consider. It's like, what's your financial situation, right? When I started off as a high performance coach, I had the money because I was working at GM and I had a good salary and I could afford to pay for that certification. But when I was living in Chicago and I was being supported by somebody else, like I really felt the financial crunch. And so I would say the most important thing is to keep on learning and growing and recognize your wins and like notice your progress every day, every week, so that you don't lose momentum. You don't have to get a certification. You can do a lot of educating and learning as a coach for free online or for small amounts of money. So find something that is relative to the financial situation that you're in. And often it's worth it to make an investment in something as well. So it depends. But like see what aligns with you. I wouldn't recommend a specific thing because I don't know that particular person, right? If I had to start all over, I would make different choices. I do like certified high performance coaching. It's a great first coaching certification, but it's also very expensive. There are other ways to get coaching that are also good. So I don't want to give a specific recommendation because number one, like it depends, like who are you trying to coach? I think it's more important to think about your life experiences and to think about what really powerful experiences you've had that make you unique and that make you differentiated, and think about like what might align with that, right? Do you want to coach corporate? Do you want to coach, athletes? Do you want to coach? Like, what do you want to coach? How do you want to coach? And you may not know those answers. So you may want to start out exploring and then like navigate to figure out what would be the right educational path for you. I just say get intentional about like figure out like the different options that you have and then choose one that makes sense for you, both financially as an investment in your coaching, but also is aligned, you think, to where you're evolving into. And then, but get a little intentional about it by like setting aside time to research the options and talk to other coaches about their journeys from different spheres. So you get a lay of the land. Like that's something I wish I had done. I wish I had like, so I tried to branch out on my own. Don't go do it. That's the number one piece of advice. Don't do it by yourself. Get in relationship with other coaches and talk to them. There's a billion ways to do that. Don't feel like you have to be in this alone because that's where the problems are going to be.
Awesome.
So I love this. I really want to connect that, and I love that advice for younger coaches, for newer coaches. But something you said was really powerful, that you're constantly expanding your toolkit and you're expanding. But I mean, it's good to be able to serve people and be ready to help people go faster. But there's a business implication here, and I've often shared this with coaches who are newer, who have less experience than me, and I'm like, and I've said it as bluntly as this. I'm like, if I were to hand my top five clients to you, and I've asked them like, how many do you think you would keep after 3 months? And more than likely, if you're a newer coach, you wouldn't be able to keep those clients. For one thing, you need the skill sets to be able to challenge them, to be able to help them expand, to be able to help them see things that they can't see. So what that helps is with the retention of those clients, consistently adding value, but also getting those referrals. why would a client refer you if they're not getting an incredible amount of? So a lot of initial business for coaches are built through those referrals, and building your skill sets, expanding your toolkit becomes probably one of the most important things in the initial coaching journey, but also later too. Would you agree with that, Daniel, on your path?
Oh yeah, I would very much agree. In fact, I've never done advertising. I've been pretty much organic and referral based. And so being able to know how to confidently and not in a sticky way invite somebody into a coaching conversation and feel really confident about that, and know how to run that conversation, and then know how to deliver great coaching is probably the most important thing, because you can always sell somebody coaching if you're really good at sales and marketing, and then they get into the experience and it's not a good experience. You're gonna have a hard time renewing. But it doesn't actually, honestly, like even as a coach, the simplest way to coach is just listening. It's like, if you're a coach and you're talking more than listening, I would highly encourage you to think very hard about what you think coaching is, because a lot of coaching is listening very, very carefully to what the client's saying and trying your best to really like be present to that and not worry. It's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah.
And make sure you are so focused and present that they have zero doubt and they're willing to open up. That's, like, to me, like the most important part, the foundational skill of the experience that you build, and being able to build a great coaching experience for the client. I think it needs to be a really important part of the focus. Not to say you should learn how to sell coaching, but coaching and sales at the highest levels are actually the same sort of thing, right? Like when I'm selling coaching, like I don't actually sell coaching to somebody who I don't think I can help. It's a really important point to make. Like, you got to be authentic. And also, trying to sell coaching when you're desperate to get a client is really dangerous, because then all your stuff is coming out, right? Because your insecurity invades the coaching space, and now it's about you again. So you got to be really, really careful about really attentive to how your stuff comes up in sales and coaching, and like throw that stuff away.
Yeah,
Because
you bring up some really interesting points, which I think we can take those nuggets and create a whole nother episode on some of these things. And in fact, we do have a couple sales focused, business focused episodes coming up in the future that I'm super excited about, because I think you just hit the head on some really important things. It's about the client. How do you serve the client? But at the highest level, selling your client or your potential client on coaching is coaching. They're really the same. Daniel, we've got a few more questions specific that we want to ask you.
Sure.
First of all, you have shared so much today, so much kind of about your journey, but then also things about your journey that are generalizable, that other coaches can connect with and learn from. If there was just kind of one piece of wisdom or actionable nugget that you could give those that are, watching this and listening to this, what would it be?
I think the number one piece of advice I got from Rich Liffin in his book was get into conversations. Constantly get into conversations. If you're not getting into conversations, you're not going to be building this ecosystem of like opportunities for you to learn how to coach better and to serve, right? If you're constantly in conversations with a serving mindset, at some point you're going to have a conversation with somebody you like know you can help, right? And part of that is having them want that help, right? So to get into conversations all the time, and always look for how you can serve the person, whether it's towards a sale or not, right? And then invite people into a coaching space conversation, right? And, like you don't need to do it without permission, right? So ask people like, hey, would you like a little bit of coaching on that? Or would you like to have a coaching experience, right? You can give them those experiences for free. You don't have to sell those. You can do whatever you want, but just get into conversation.
Get into conversation. Love it.
I love that advice.
Like we're doing here is this conversation. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Daniel, what is one of the most influential books for you in your coaching journey?
Rich Liffin, Prosperous Coach.
All right. Boom. That was easy.
Yeah, amazing.
What are some of your hobbies? What do you do in your off time?
I love hanging out with my wife, of course. I do a lot of music. I write music. I have a YouTube channel that is like no followers at all because I'm not, it's like just a hobby. Actually, no, I have about 100 followers, so it's not zero, but it's mostly people that know me, my friends and family, a couple other people, a couple of clients on there, I think. But I write music and I put that out there. I also love performing music, like live. But with COVID, there has not been a lot of live performance opportunities that I've created for myself. So music is a huge hobby so that I've been doing since I was a kid.
Yeah. What do you suppose separates a successful coach from the ones that give up, that fail, or that never really actually do anything in the coaching space?
I would say it might actually be like feeling progress, like we talked about earlier, like really constantly feeling progress and knowing what you're building and why, like knowing what you're trying to, like, why are you coaching? Like, what is the purpose? Like, if you get really down to it, like feeling motivated and feeling that necessity to keep on going forward is really important. And there's lots of ways to generate that. So the coaches who don't generate that are a way higher risk, who aren't in touch with their own ability to move forward, right? Their own progress and their own reasons why they're coaching. I think we talked about those two. Like I knew there was this part of me, and also I was like seeing progress. That was like the turning point for me. And now, like, I think it's so important that I do it every day to like recognize your progress. So to me, like, recognize your progress. And the second factor I think would be, don't be alone. I know this is like sponsored by Coaching Mastery Community, but like, this is true. The reason this community exists is actually because like there's truth to don't be alone as a coach.
Absolutely. I just couldn't help but remember last episode, Faisal, when you talked about being the Uber covert coach. And so there's a lot of similarity in Daniel's story and in Faisal's story about, you're not making money, you're totally doubting, did I totally screw up my life by quitting this amazingly successful, corporate journey? But both of you guys had something deep down that you knew, like, no, I there's something here that's very consistent with who I am and how I want to be in the world. And so you persisted. So I love that. Our last question for you, Daniel, is where do you think the field of coaching is headed?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
Depends.
Really good. Yeah.
Cannot say it depends.
Yeah, I won't say it depends, but it's coaching is a huge field. There's so many kinds of coaching for so many kinds of niches and so many kinds of modalities. I think probably one of the biggest things I wonder about is regulation. Because, for example, like psychology got regulated. Will coaching get regulated? I wonder about that. I think it might. So it might be something I've been thinking about. Like, I'm not ICF certified, for example, but I'm wondering if there will become a time where the government will put some laws in place where you might need to be certified to do it. And so I wonder if we should actually make certifications more like something we should think about, like to be able to withstand regulation for our businesses. That's a business risk I see coming. The other thing I think is coming is a shift maybe towards sort of group coaching that is not just like content. I think experiences of group coaching that are powerful experiences rather than just like webinar style. You get online and you learn some stuff. I think it's going to be more powerful for people to get coached and to have experiences that help them transform online. I think so. Like the shift in the online group coaching world might be happening right now. And I think there's going to be a lot more coaches. I think coaching is going to become a really important part of society. It's like a new role that's evolving in society right now. And I won't say we're at the infancy. The infancy is past. Like coaching is, people know what coaching is now in society, but I think it's going to become more and more accepted and more powerful, like influence on the world. So I think the biggest thing that's happening in the world is like, this is one of the reasons I want to be a coach is like, as coaches, we are helping people be better people, more of the people they want to be, right? And having a world full of those kinds of people is really important. And so the more coaching expands and grows and becomes mainstream, the better for the world. Because I think about leadership and I think about like our environment. I think we can all influence that as coaches. So I think it's just going to continue to grow because people feel the value that they get from being able to flourish.
Yes, amazing. Daniel, where can people find you?
You can find me in Coaching Mastery community is probably a really good place to find me. Again, like I said, I don't really advertise much. You can subscribe. So I also run a group coaching community at groupcoachmagic.com. You can opt into the email list there and contact me that way. Yeah, that's basically the best ways to find me.
What's your YouTube channel for your music?
Oh, it's Play Daniel Play.
Play Daniel Play. Beautiful.
Thank you. That's a good one. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us, especially on the wake of within the next week or so, you and your wife are having your first baby.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, that's so
right.
exciting. So congratulations in advance for that. You are going to have another hat and role to put on that's going to be super messy. I'm just giving you a heads up, but that's exciting. So thank you so much. And we will see you guys soon.
Thank you, both of you. And
thank you, Daniel.
My pleasure. See you later, Coaches Nation.